Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a beautiful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Now, I thought I would give you an update on Chud the Builder because this is really just becoming another Barney Fife movie. This man tried to make a career out of going around insulting black people. And I didn't report on him at the time. People were talking about him, but I didn't report on him. I only decided to report on him after he got locked up. So then apparently he thought that white privilege extended beyond somebody like him who's going around bothering people, insulting people, and then ended up shooting somebody and shooting himself in the process. And then he ends up in jail, and we find out that he has had several recent arrests. So he has some ongoing legal issues. And so he put this one on top of the others. And he seemed to have thought that he was just going to walk out of jail. He was going to shoot the man and just walk off. Well, this time he ended up locked up. So Chud got a wake-up call this time. Life has a way of slowing you down and showing you exactly who you are and who you are not. And for him, Chud the Builder, that moment came behind bars. So today we're talking about the wake-up call he received while sitting in jail and why it changed the entire conversation around his case. Because these white people were going around beating their chest and saying, oh yeah, Chud, he's calling them the N-word and he's calling them a chimp and all of that to their face. Well, you see where he is now. That's one thing that these young white men should always pay attention to. These old white men are trying to radicalize them, but the young ones are the ones who are going to end up in jail. And guess who they're going to meet when they're in jail? Okay? They're going to meet the very people that they say they don't like. They're going to get enough of them in jail. But anyway, before all this happened, he was loud, confident, and convinced he was untouchable. Online, he played the role of the provocateur, the guy who stirred the pot, escalated situations, and thrived off attention. But once those jail doors closed, the energy shifted. Suddenly, the audience wasn't cheering, the cameras weren't rolling, and reality had finally caught up. And I saw on Rachel Lynn's channel some white guy trying to play the victim, like Chud somehow was a victim. Now he went out there and picked a fight with somebody at the courthouse, shot the person, and then shot himself, but he's the victim. And this is the mentality that you're dealing with. And jail didn't just stop him physically, it stopped the performance. Because when you're locked up, you don't get to control the narrative. You don't get to spin the story. You don't get to hide behind a live stream or a persona. And that's when the wake-up call hits. He realized that the same internet that hyped him up couldn't protect him. The same people who encouraged the chaos couldn't save him. And the consequence he thought he could outrun was sitting right there in the jail cell with him. Now, here's where things have gotten interesting, and this has surprised me. While he was in jail, his little friends raised a give, send, go because they can't do GoFundMe when they've done something like that to somebody. So there's another crowdfunding where you can help somebody who has been accused of committing a crime against another person, and it's called Give, Send, Go. So he raised anywhere from $138,000 to $213,000 plus, according to reporting. And his friends had told, I heard one of the black content creators say that his friends said, yeah, racists have money. Well, apparently non-racist black people do too, because the man he shot raised more money than he did. Now think about that. He had the platform, he had the followers, and he had the viral moments. But the public still chose to support the victim. And that's not just a financial difference, that's a moral one. It shows who people believed, who they empathized with, and who they felt actually needed the help. The black man raised over $250,000. The black man that he shot. He actually did have a GoFundMe because he was the victim. And he raised over $250,000. So he has raised more money than Chud has. So people aren't as easily manipulated as he thought. Once the facts came out, once the footage circulated and people realized what he was doing, once the police statements were released, the narrative changed. The victim's fundraiser showed medical bills, family needs, and real life consequences. The black man was minding his business. It doesn't say why he was at the courthouse, but he could have been there for any number of reasons. But Chud didn't have any business bothering that man. But Chud was trying to have a viral moment at the courthouse. That was something that he was going to show to his viewers and his audience, and they were going to cheer him on. But it didn't work the way he thought it was going to work, and he got a wake-up call that day. And Chud went up to him and started with him. And people saw through what Chud was trying to do and felt sorry for the man that was shot. And so good for him because they say that he is a veteran and he might be a disabled veteran. And that's who he was picking at because that's who Chud picked at, people that he thought wouldn't fight back. So Chud leaned on outrage and politics and excuses, but the black man was standing on business. He was defending himself against somebody who actually acted like he didn't have good sense. So yes, Chud the Builder got a wake-up call while in jail. You really shouldn't be rewarded for going around picking at people and bothering people because you have problems. Because anybody who goes around picking at people who are not bothering them has a problem. You can frame it any way you want to, but that person has a problem. And one thing about white privilege, it doesn't work all the time. It doesn't work on people like this because he's obviously a problem himself. And so white people are not going to defend him, especially in the law. So apparently, white privilege can run out, especially when you're not a billionaire or a millionaire's son. You're just a regular person running around here acting like you don't have good sense. So apparently, your white privilege can run out. So under the circumstances, I'm not surprised that Chud is in jail. I'm not surprised that he has a high bail. The judge did reduce his bail from $1.25 million to $1 million. So he got a $250,000 reduction, but he's still in jail. And the prosecutors are trying to make it where he cannot use any of that money that was raised for him to get out of jail. So far, he hasn't had access to any of that money that they call themselves bailing him out on. But the thing that shocked me the most and the thing that gives me the most pleasure is that the black man raised more money than he did. And that is really something because the black man didn't do anything and he didn't deserve any of that. So let me know what you think about this. Were you surprised that the black man raised more money than Chud? And the black man actually has access to his money because he has a GoFundMe and not a Give, Send, Go because he did something to somebody. So let me know what you think about that. All right, y'all. Have a good day.